Hello, business building warrior. If you're listening to this episode near the time when it first came out, hey, it's the weekend. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. And to help you make your weekend even more impactful for your business, we've compiled some great information from some recent conversations we've had with students in our community who are actively trying to build beautiful businesses through e commerce. That's right. This is a podcast that's all about using the internet creatively to launch and grow the business of your dreams. And hundreds of our interview episodes, if you scroll back in time, are with the students who have followed our proven Amazon course strategies to do just that. They've built a beautiful business, and we talked to them about the road that they were on to get to that point. So you can go back and listen to some of those episodes if you'd like, scroll back in time. But today, what I have for you is, like I said, recent conversations with students from our community who are at all levels of experience. Because what we do every Monday around here, around 5 o'clock Eastern time, we've been doing it for a long time, is we go live on Zoom and anyone can join in and ask us anything about their business, about e-commerce, about our community, about our coaching program, about our courses, or about some challenges they're facing in their business. So these Saturday episodes are a nice random mix up of conversational topics. We've done our best to break down a little bit about what you're about to experience in the description for today's episode. So you can check that out if you'd like. But it's going to be some really good people, some of your fellow business building warriors hopping on a live call with us, hanging out and having conversations with us. Most of our Saturday episodes, that's what we do. It's that recent recording. You'll also hear from time to time an older episode that we've revisited, pulled out some really good nuggets of information and broken it down into bite-sized pieces so you can take it along with you on the weekend, enjoy whatever it is that you're doing on Saturday or over the rest of the weekend, and then be ready to hit the week with some new energy and ideas and motivation because you hung out with your friends at Silent Sales Machine Radio and listened to some good inspiration. So thanks for being the best part of our show. We're honored that you spend some time listening to our show each week. And if you want to leave us a review, we'd certainly appreciate that. We'll jump over into the content in just a moment, but we love those iTunes 5-star reviews. We love those likes and those comments, all that stuff. It's so great. It helps us spread the word. We have no marketing budget for this show. It's all about you spreading the word. And we recently flew past 6 million downloads on iTunes alone because you do such a great job of telling others about silentjimdotcom. That's all you got to do. Soon there, say, hey, these guys know their stuff when it comes to e-commerce and selling online and Amazon. Go check out some of those shows. We appreciate when you do that. Thank you so much for that. Well, let's jump over and see what the team's put together for us today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. Looks like everybody's getting logged in here. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand using the reactions button at the bottom. Hope everybody's doing well. This is the Monday meetup that Jim Cockram usually hosts, but he's out of town. So he's asked me to cover for him. Hope I do okay. We'll see if we can muddle through together. Welcome all of you who are new to the Proven Amazon course. There is so much value if you're not a member of the Proven Amazon course. It's like a library full of courses and quick start guides and all kinds of information that you need. But here at My Silent Team, we believe in just-in-time learning. You don't have to learn it all at once. One at a time, get your feet under you, and then go to the next thing. So you can start out with the Amazon 101. Kind of helps you figure out how to set up your seller account if you haven't done that before. And then where we usually like to start people with their new Amazon business is in what we call replens. And that there's a course in the Proven Amazon course that is all about replens and all how that works. Jimmy Smith did that course, and he's kind of the one who kind of put together all of that information. So there's he just updated it not too long ago, a lot of really, really good stuff in there. If you're concerned about finding ways to source, he's got a whole bunch of ways to find ASINs that you can sell as well. Still letting a few people in here. So that is what we're all about here. If anybody has any questions, feel free to post them in the chat or raise your hand. No problem. I'll just keep talking along until somebody asks a question. One thing that I wanted to mention is the Kickstart Bootcamp. That's a program for usually people who are brand new to selling on Amazon platform. Sometimes people come there because they've been doing something different on Amazon platform besides reselling items on community listings. Those of you who want to do replens and set your account up that way, this Kickstart Bootcamp, I'm going to put a link to it here, silentjimdotcom. I'm going to put in the chat, silentjim.com/kickstart. You can go there and find out more information about that program. What we do is a 4-week program, and we've got a private Facebook group and 4 weeks of kind of getting you started. We're going to go one repetition through the process of getting your account open, finding one item, just one item that matches. It has a source and an ASIN that match. We'll teach you how to purchase that item, how to prep it and ship it into Amazon's warehouse and put it up for sale. We're going to do that all in 4 weeks. It's a $37 charge for that 4 weeks. I also do 4 live Q&A calls on a Zoom call like this. There will be once a week, 1 call a week. And excuse me if I'm distracted, letting people in. And so feel free to join us there. We get a lot of good feedback from that. So we're keeping that going because we really, really enjoy, and I really enjoy doing it too. I really enjoy meeting up with you people. And another benefit that comes out of that is a lot of times you can meet other people that you can stay in touch with. That's a really good way to find other people who have the same kind of goals that you have, and you can kind of walk this journey together. If you've met each other, this is one of the ways that you can meet each other there.
So I've got a Zoom call that I am starting tonight from your Path to 100 ASINs course. It'll be tonight. I just created my first Zoom meet and looking forward to see who jumps on.
Thank you so much, Brian, for bringing that up. So what Brian's talking about is a Path to 100 ASINs, which is a live workshop that my husband Brian and I do. We did one just before the Proven conference that we just got done with in Orlando. If you weren't there, I hope you're going to be able to be there. It's going to be the same place next year. You can find out more about the Proven conference at theprovenconference.com. Let me just quickly talk about what Brian was mentioning there, which was that workshop. We are having another one of those workshops in August in Nashville, August 16th and 17th. You can find more information about that at the Proven Amazon course. Amazon course.com/100. That's 100. That is now that I'm all distracted, that is a group where we have put a small group together, 30, 40 people in one room. And we go over, you might have heard us talking about the 3-step check and the 4-week test. We go over, help you kind of get past that ambiguity in your sourcing, kind of help you know what to choose. When you're choosing an ASIN, what requirements do I have? How do I decide what requirements I have? How do I know if this ASIN has those requirements? And then once I do decide to test it, how do I know how that process goes? How do I know that it's passed the test and I want to replenish that? This is an in-depth course that we just kind of roll up our sleeves and get to work and kind of everybody look at these ASINs together and talk about it, answer all your questions. because it's a small group, you get to ask all your questions, and we're there for 2 full days. So if you're interested in that, I put that in the chat here. You can go and check that out. Seating is limited though. So once it's filled up, then you'll have to wait for the next one. So if you're interested in that, I would go ahead right over there and fill out the questionnaire so somebody can get with you on that. Thanks for bringing that up, Brian.
I have a question about FBM. Everything that I've ever sold has been FBA, and I bought some grocery items that kind of have a shorter expiration date.
Mhm.
And I know I've heard people talk about FBM over the years. I honestly have no idea how that works, or are there settings that I need to go in and adjust? I work another full-time job, so it's not like I'm available all day long to get something ready to ship out.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious about that process because I'm getting ready to list my first FBM product, and I just want to make sure I'm not shooting myself in the foot.
Sure. Yeah, actually, that's the first time we decided to do an FBM product because we had short dates on grocery items and we needed to. We couldn't send them into FBA because they were too short, but we could get them sold on FBM. I recommend. It is absolutely a valid way of doing things, but there are a couple of places you can kind of step in it. So I do recommend that you go into the PAC and watch that FBM course. There's one in Proven Amazon course. If you know someone who's done it before who can help you set up your shipping templates, I would recommend you run it by them and make sure you've got it all set up. You're going to want to make sure that in your listing, you put a number of days. They give you 1 to 5. You don't want to go too far because you want it to be attractive to someone, but give yourself a day to make sure that if you got an order during the day, you don't have to have it out during that same day. So that's one of the places that you want to make sure you're okay on. Also, make sure that you are including in your price, if you're going to give free shipping, make sure you're including in your price enough to cover the shipping. And then I would also limit how many of the items people can buy at one time. Because Amazon, if you are asking the customer to pay shipping, Amazon will include those together and you won't get that whole shipping amount for each one. However, if you're including shipping and you've included that in the price, you won't have to worry so much about that. So there are a couple of tips I have for that. But I would really recommend that you have somebody look over your templates before you go, and definitely look over that Proven Amazon course. Just a couple of things that you want to make sure.
Yeah, for when you're fulfilling an order, then does Amazon give you do you purchase the shipping for that product right through Seller Central the same way you would when you're shipping products to
Yeah,
FBA? That how you don't have to have like a separate UPS account and buy shipping individually.
that's right. So what happens is you click right on the order when Amazon says you've got an order that you need to fulfill. You go in there to fulfill it. It's pretty intuitive, and it'll tell you your options for buying shipping, and you buy it right through there. Print a label just like you do when you're shipping into FBA, except that it's a label to the customer, of course. Yep.
Okay,
So it's all
great.
set up for you. You can use your own shipping if you want. If you do, then you have to go back in and put a tracking number in there. But you don't have the Amazon's protection if you use your own shipment either. So I recommend that you use that, especially in the beginning. We got a question in the chat. What are the software or tools you are utilizing for your business? Well, I'll tell you what, in our replens business, now I'm talking about Brian and I, our replens business, we are using Inventory Lab simply because our shoppers and shippers are comfortable using that. A lot of people use a prep center or something that requires that. But it's really not necessary unless you have a reason to do it. It's kind of expensive, and shipping out of Seller Central is so much easier than it used to be. It really is not necessary. So we in the beginning, all you really need is Keepa, and then a lot of people choose to use an on-page calculator like RevSeller or AZ Insight. Brian and I use AZ Insight, RevSeller. They're pretty similar. They kind of do all the calculations right on the page for you so you can make a decision. about what you're going to buy and test. So we use those two things. We do use a repricer, but not nearly as much as we used to, since we kind of turned it upside down and started testing regularly and realized that we could sell, like Jim put out very clearly in podcast number 554, that we can sell above the buy box. We don't have to chase that buy box down if it's leaving. We don't even have to price it at the buy box to start with. So we use a repricer way less than we ever did before. We also use seller board. It does help us keep track of our profits and our individual, especially the ASIN level expenses, and keeps those on a daily basis. Lets us know if there's any changes in the ASINs that we're selling on, that we have inventory. And so those are kind of some of the tools that we use. And again, I'm sure Jim would say the same thing. If you ask this question in my Salient Team Facebook group, you'll get 100 different answers. 100 different people use 100 different tools that all do the same kinds of things. Some people are really tool heavy. We're not. We're kind of tool light. We don't have a lot of tools to help us in our replens business. But every one of us is different. So I would say experiment. Don't go too heavy in tools to get started, because you want your business to be able to pay for them.
So speaking of tools, that's been something that has always been like, God, there's so many that, and a lot of them do similar things. And I think I even brought that up, or somebody did, a few weeks ago back in Orlando. I guess you just have to figure out what works best for you. And I did sign up for Kang's system, which I'm really intrigued by, because his thing was like, hey, he's kind of built this software not to replace or to take away from any of the other sponsors tools, but I'm really interested to see what I can kind of get rid of and minimize. So I have one tool for repricing, one tool for this, and one tool for that, and so on, where I'm not doubling up on stuff, because it really can be a little confusing, I think, especially to newer people. I guess I don't really have any more to say on that, but
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's true. And I'm not sure I know the link for that, but or the podcast number, but there is a podcast with Kang Dang, who's created what they're calling the system. And what I understand it to be is a kind of a tool that helps you know what to replenish in your book of business. Now, those who don't have a book of business yet, of course, will want to build one, a foundation, so that you can use that tool on it. But it's pretty interesting. Someone asked, is it always wise to disable Amazon global selling in FBA settings? I think what maybe you're talking about is in the US platform, you often are automatically, I think you always are automatically opting in to the North American remote fulfillment, I think is what it's called. So that means that from your US inventory, you can sell on platforms of Canada and Mexico, since we're all kind of in the same global area here. The problem that I have found with that is that there are things that you'll have in your account in Canada, for instance, or Mexico, that are the same as in your US account, but they're not allowed to be sold in those areas, and they don't necessarily cut you off from that. I've had that happen with my account. There was something that wasn't allowed to be sold in Canada that was listed on my account in Canada because of that program. And then, I had a bad mark on I almost got my Canada account shut down. So I do recommend, when you're first getting started, that you go and opt out of that until you have have your feet under, you have a real good idea of what's going to be put into those other countries you do have to log into those other platforms individually to take that inventory out and to control that inventory. So make sure you're doing that if you have it turned on. But I don't really recommend that people keep it on, I recommend that they opt out of it when they first get started. Of course, it's not a requirement, but there are some pitfalls there. So it's kind of just another thing that you have to worry about when you're new and you can't, you don't have a lot of account health points. You can't tolerate a whole lot going on with your account. So that's kind of how I think about that. How long do you hold the price above the buy box before taking it down to the typical buy box? I know that Jim holds it for a month. Well, if you come to our workshop, we'll show you exactly how we do that. We have a whole system for that 4-week test. However, let me answer that at a high level without us being able to spend 2 days together. What we do is a little bit different, although it's along the same lines. We start at the highest price that we can justify, either the highest price that it's been in the last 90 days, even if it was there for a moment, or the highest, at least a 20% ROI, whichever one's higher. And we go down to 20% ROA if it doesn't sell within 4 weeks. So we leave it for 1 week at the highest price, and we go down about a third of the way and leave it for 1 week at the next price. And we go down about a third of the way, leave it for 1 week at the next price. Now we're 3 weeks in. If it still hasn't sold, we're going to go to the 20% ROI or whatever your minimum percentage that you would take. Usually people building a foundation will take about 20% return on their investment in order to say, yes, I'll replenish it. So that last week, you're going to give it a full week and see if it sells there. Now, if it sells somewhere in between there, it's going to be we're not really paying attention to where the buy box is. The buy box may be there in between there, and you may hit the buy box at one of those prices, or this price may be way above where you are. But wherever it is, then you know that you can sell at that price, and then you can start replenishing at that price. Now, if it doesn't sell by the time it gets as low as you're willing to replenish it at, you still have a ways to go before you're down to break even. So maybe then I might, if the buy box is lower than that price, I might go to the buy box for a couple of days, see if I can sell it. If not, I'll go on down to my break even price and go ahead and get rid of that so I can get my money back and put it back into something else. That sale, even if I only broke even, that sale is going to give me a lot of benefits, right? Amazon doesn't know whether I made any profit or not. They don't know whether I made any money or not. What they do know is that I made a sale to a happy customer, and that counts. They actually, if you make 200 sales within a 180-day period rolling, you keep 200 sales, they'll give you 4 points on your account health. So you start building that, and you start building your account health, which will build tolerance for those compliance issues that might come along, right? It also gives you a chance to get customer feedback, which helps your seller metrics for those customers who might be concerned about that. It also gives you experience about how that ASIN works and how ASINs like that work. And that's probably the biggest benefit that we see. So we recommend that you test as many as you can justify testing, as long as you have pretty good idea that you won't lose money on it, of course, even if you have to go down to your break even, and take out of that all the benefits of that sale. Plus, if it sells for your minimum requirements or higher, you're going to want to replenish that and put that onto your foundation of replenishable ASINs. Hope that kind of helps answer your question. Didn't you just mention that you have been touching your repricer a little less now since you started employing the above the buy box strategy? Or are you still reviewing your prices on a weekly basis? So I only manually review on a weekly basis while I'm testing for 4 weeks after it becomes available. And I'm just telling you what we do. If you ask people in the community, you're going to get 1,000 different answers. But what we do in our business is we manually test for 4 weeks and move that price until we sell it. It may not last 4 weeks. We may sell it before it even gets there, in which case we're going to start replenishing it. Once we start replenishing it, we can keep it at that price that we know we can sell it at. We don't need to chase the buy box. We don't need to put a repricer on. We don't need to move that around at all. We can just sell it at that price. Now, what we're going to have to figure out is how many we can sell at that price. Probably fewer than we would at the buy box, but it's less work and more profit for us to sell fewer of each ASIN and have more ASINs than it would be to sell more in one ASIN and make less money. So we just keep it there until it looks like it's going to turn over for us. In which case, some, ASINs kind of have a cycle. They're not always good all the time. So we keep an eye on anything that's sitting in there more than 60 days, and we'll turn that down so that we don't replenish it for a little while until it comes back to us. But that's kind of how I know that's really high level, but in this setting, that's about as well as we can do. Hope that helps kind of give you some ideas about how to look at that.
After going through your class, and this is kind of rhetorical a question because I pretty much know the answer, but like as far as Trader Joe's stuff goes, the brands don't match up. They say TJ's or they'll say TJ2 or whatever, but I haven't really had an issue of any kind with that particular store against that model, right? However, I don't want a $4 profit to be my last ASIN. So what do you think about that? Because it seems like in that particular store that a majority of their brands don't match up as Trader Joe's. So what do you think about that?
I'll tell you exactly what I think about it. I think that we have seen in the last year clear evidence that we do not want to be messing with the brand on the ASIN. If the brand in the ASIN field, the brand field in the ASIN is not exactly what the brand should be, and TJ's doesn't do it. The brand is Trader Joe's. If that's not the case, I would stay away from it. Again, just like you said, I don't know if I want that $4 ASIN to be my last ASIN that I can sell. They have really cracked down on this. And while it doesn't appear that that particular brand has felt anything from that yet, I'm not willing to risk it personally. Okay. And this is Jeff Schick says that all the time. Okay. If you're willing for this to be your last ASIN that you sell, then you go for it. But I personally don't want to take that risk. Each person has to make their own decision. But my advice is to stay away from anything that has any question about the brand or anything that could be construed as misbranded. Also generic. You don't buy things that are branded generic because you will not be able to put them into your inventory. You'll get an error and it won't work. And I've heard a lot of stories about people say, oh, well, I was approved to sell it. So I went and bought 20 of them and then I couldn't put them in my inventory. First of all, don't go buy 20 of them. Test small first before you do that. Second of all, then you will not, I'm telling you, you will not be able to put them in your inventory if they are generic. So do not buy them. Did you know that in Seller Central, a lot of people don't realize that there's a search bar there and you can type in, when do I get paid? And it will bring you up articles that explain these things from Amazon's terms of service. That's the source of truth. Amazon's the one who's paying you, and they're the ones who know how that all works. You can always open a case, especially new sellers. They are really open to having new sellers call them and talk over these things and helping explain these things to you as well.
Would you consider an apostrophe a part of misbranding?
I think that's got to be a judgment call. In some cases I can think of, I would, and some I might not. I'm pretty conservative about these things. I mean, your risk tolerance is what it is. Mine's not very high when it comes to getting my account even questioned, right? There are enough things that can go wrong with me trying really hard. Right?
Basically, when in doubt, throw it out.
That's what I think. There are a billion ASINs. How many ASINs are there, Brian?
There's a billion.
A
All right.
billion. Yeah. There are
Thanks.
a billion ASINs. Go find another one. If this one's giving you heartburn, go find another one. That's kind of where I like to live. Can anybody just make a listing under any particular brand? I see a bunch of listings where the brands are sort of the same, meaning it could be a difference in spelling, special characters, a space here or there, etc. How are people creating these listings? And they seem to be doing fine. All right. First of all, no, anybody can't just create under any brand. People can create a listing, but there are many brands that won't let you use their name to create brand. They'll let you sell on their brand, no problem, but they won't let you create a listing with their brand. And that's when it happens sometimes that people then kind of misspell it or something so it doesn't pop up as the same brand. Amazon's doing a pretty good job of catching those after the fact, even if they don't catch them when they're happening. So that happens. Plus, you'll see a lot of ASINs that have been out there quite a while. This used to be okay. Many years ago, it was not a big deal. And we even, tried to find those because of whatever reason. But that is not the case anymore. That is old information, and you do not want to mess around with those kinds of things. So whether they can or can't, I don't know. I'm not going to sell on them. That's my decision, and you'll have to make your decision your own. So good question. Many people say do not sell when Amazon is there, but I see so many FBA and FBM sellers there when I am looking for an ASIN. I am really curious if these people are selling their products. I am a new seller. Okay, that was key for me. I am a new seller I don't usually recommend that people compete against Amazon until they have a foundation built and they have some balance. So then once you have 75 or 100 ASINs that you're replenishing regularly, you have a lot more balance and your risk tolerance is going to go up. Then you're going to feel okay about putting your money into things that might be a little bit more complicated and a little bit harder to read. You'll have enough experience to kind of make that call. And there are people who do that. Now, how well they do, I can't tell you. Just because they're on there doesn't mean they're doing well or making sales. I would caution you that if Amazon is on there regularly without going out of stock, I usually don't go anywhere near those. I personally don't compete with Amazon anyway. But, and we've had a business for 5 years, but sometimes you'll see that Amazon is on there for a little while and then they're off for, a month or two at a time. Those I might test. And remember, it's just a test, right? You just send in 2 or 3 of them to see if you'll be able to sell those. So don't test what you can't lose in those cases. But, Amazon can take over that listing anytime. So I wouldn't put too much inventory in there. You can test it. I usually recommend that new people, especially if you've never sent anything in before, not start there. Don't out of desperation try to open up your the ways that you source. Out of something planned like the Path to 100 ASINs Accelerator Workshop, we have a plan to kind of open up your ability to find more ASINs to test. That's different than just saying, well, I'm going to try this because I can't find any of those, right? So think about it that way. Again, it's your business. You're going to have to decide what works for you, but that's what I usually tell people that I'm working with. So we had another question. I am a new seller. I have made about 25 sales. However, I feel like I have been trying in the sense of managing what Amazon pays me. What do you recommend? Let's walk through this, how this works. I'm going to source something this week. Maybe I'm going to shop for it and even prep and ship it in this week. And I'm going to send it into Amazon. It's going to take about a week to get there, right? From my house to the prep center. Then the prep center, I'm sorry, not the prep center, the FBA warehouse. It's going to take about a week to get the FBA warehouse, at least a few days. So then they are going to have to receive it. They're going to have to open the box and receive everything. That might take a few days. They might send it off to another warehouse. That might take a few days. So now we're into it. Now we're 2 or 3 weeks in, and we haven't even got anything up for sale yet, right? Now, all of a sudden, we have these items up for sale. If we sell them, now remember, in our process, we go through a 4-week test. It may be 4 weeks before we sell that. And we'll be in there for 7 weeks before we sell those items, right? Hopefully we'll sell them a week or 2 before that. But let's say we're in there for, I don't know, 5 to 8 weeks before we sell our first item that from where we started, right? Then once we sell it, Amazon is only going to put that money in your account when they ship it. So maybe they don't ship it till tomorrow. There's another day there. Now it goes into your account, but you go into your Seller Central and you see, oh, I have money, but Amazon's not going to give it all to me, right? They're going to hold back from some in case you have refunds, in case something goes wrong, the customer wasn't happy. And the law that gets a little better the more you sell, but it's always going to be there. You're always going to have a lag of at least about half of it that they're going to hold. And then next week they're going to, and then it'll be 2 weeks before your payday as well. Every 2 weeks is the payout schedule. So now we're in there for 8 weeks, maybe, I don't know, however many weeks before we even see disbursement of half of the money that we sold back here a couple weeks ago. Then we sell some more next week, and then our other half will be dispersed on the next pay period, but only half of the current ones. So you're always going to be lagging. So once you get that figured out, Amazon has a pretty good view of what they're holding out and why they're holding it, what they're holding it for. So if you can kind of get in there and get a feel for what those numbers are, their transaction history of what they're paying you for and what fees they're holding out, and everything is down at the bottom or in the transaction portion of the pay screen. So there's a lot of information in Amazon. You just have to get in there and kind of study it. Everybody's is going to look just a little bit different, just based on, different criteria that Amazon looks at, and how long you've been selling, of course.
If anyone is remotely considering going to the conference next year in Orlando, end of May, I strongly recommend it. This is no promo stuff. I would strongly recommend taking the Path to 100 ASINs classes, 2 of them, before I would imagine same thing next year. Man, I can't express enough how it's changed my whole mindset on replens. I can't even express it. It's changed my whole mindset. How I realize so many things I wasn't doing wrong, even though I was, but like I could have been doing differently, and it makes a lot more sense now. But then you get the whole experience of the conference in general, with the probably 1,000 people next year, and hopefully Jim will be doing karaoke if they reach 1,000 mark. But it's totally worth it, you guys. If anyone's really struggling with how to get, I've talked to a lot of people who are new people that are struggling, because it is a little overwhelming with the software tools and the things, and how to source correctly and not scanning barcodes and so on. It's on and on and on. But your course, Robin and Brian, helped a ton, and I can't emphasize how much I strongly recommend that it is going to be worth your time if this is something you want to do full time, and you want it to be your income. And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, thank you, Brian. And I did not pray Brian to say that. Brian actually went to our last class, and so hopefully that's for real.
Oh, you
I can't guarantee, we haven't set it up for next year's Proven Conference. We do have the dates set for August, August 15th and August 16th and 17th, I believe it is, in Nashville, Tennessee. And that one is going to happen. And then we don't have any planned after that, but we likely will plan some more. One of the things that we go over there that Brian might be talking about is the fact that a lot of people will source and they will go and look to see, okay, this is what the price looks like right now. If I were to buy it right now, this is how much it would cost me. So now I have to go and find a source that allows me to sell it for a profit. So I need to find something cheap enough that I can sell it at this price to in order to make a profit, right? Well, the problem that we saw people running into was that the price is the price. No matter how long you look, it's pretty much going to cost you a certain amount to buy that for whatever it is. So what we did is we kind of turned that upside down. One of the principles that we teach there is not to pay attention to what it's selling for right now. That price is going up and down all the time. It's a different price likely for different people in different parts of the country, which you can't see. You can if you know how to look for it, but you can't see that easily. And just because it's that price right now doesn't mean you can't sell for more than that price. So what we ask you to do is find out what it's going to cost you. It costs what it costs. I can go to Target and I can buy this thing for $10. It doesn't matter what it's selling for right now. I'm going to test it for whatever will give me at least a 20% profit or the highest price that I've seen. Like I said, the highest price I can justify starting at. It's only a test, right? I'm going to make sure that I have pretty good evidence that I'm going to get all my money back, even if it doesn't work out. And I'm going to test a few of those and see if I can sell them higher. And then we go through the 4-week test, and then we have tools to help you like spreadsheets that I put together to help you keep track of where you are in that testing process and ways, tips to help you keep up with that. So it's not just this daily burden on you. We really have simplified it, but turning that upside down sometimes is just so freeing for people because they don't have to go worry about where they're going to find it for a lower price. They test it at the price they need it to be, at the price that is the price, right? So that's one of the things that happens in that workshop. Thanks for bringing that up, Brian. I might look into the Path to 100 ASINs. I am 1 hour, 20 minutes from Nashville. Well, that might be a good one for you to go to then. Yeah, that would be great. Look into it. provenamazoncourse.com/100. That's 100. That's where you can get information on that. And if you're a coaching client, Jim Cockrum Coaching, Brian and I are coaches with the Jim Cockrum Coaching Program. And if you're a coaching client, they give you a pretty good discount on that workshop as well. Also, there's another place. If you just have questions about any of these things, I want to make sure everybody knows you can go to silentjimdotcom/book. Try typing this while I'm saying it. Book a call, all one word. There you can make an appointment. And these people that talk to you there have all of the information and all of the different programs that are available to you, and they can help you. They can talk to you about your business and kind of help you decide what you need next, what's going to push you to the next level, what you're ready for, what you have margin in your life for, as Jim calls it. I love that. So that's the best place to go if you have questions about any of these programs that we're talking about.